Well, everyone, it's Monday, April the 7th, 2025. I am Doug. It's time once again to play some Wordle. Let's see if I can get this right. Apologies in advance if I don't. My K Gunterman, 2752. Look, I may have gotten that wrong, and I am very sorry if I did. But nonetheless, easy peasy. Well, that wasn't easy peasy. Talking about peasy, worth a try, isn't it? That we have definitely an agreement on. That's an interesting word, and it has intrigued me ever since we announced last night that we are going to be starting that word today. So let's go ahead. I think for the first time, let's start with the word peasy. All right. Ooh, interesting. The E and the A out of position. Another good start here. That's good to see this week. Hopefully we'll keep those fortunate starts coming. Here's the first thing I think of here is let's move the A and the E around, obviously. Let's try the A towards the front. Let's look at E towards the end. Now, there's so many things you can do. I think the most common word with this rearrangement would be later, L, T, and R. So it's kind of an excuse to get three of the most common consonants looked at and obviously moving the A and the E around for some intel. There's always that long shot, but certainly possible scenario where we get it in two here, which would be super crazy and fun. But I think that strategically, this is probably the soundest thing we can do here. So we're going to go with that. Is the answer to today's puzzle the word later? No, it's not, but look at that. The L has joined the party. And more importantly, my guess was very lucky. A and E now in position. That's as good as it gets, really. With, of course, the 50-50 that L is in the third or the fifth spot. I don't think it's in both. My gut instinct here tells me to try looking at it in the middle for the moment. And what would that make us consider here? Let's see. It can't be paler. We tested the P and the R. I don't feel like I'm in love with this. I got to be honest with you. I don't think I'm in love with this. Let's take a different look at this. What if we put the L at the end? Does that make things look more interesting? What do we get there? Camel. Camel is interesting. Hazel is interesting. So if Camel and Hazel now, they don't share any letters, so I'm never really a big fan when I realize that there's those types of scenarios here. Anything else jump out at me? Thankfully, I don't see a bagel. So we have bagel, camel, and hazel, and they all don't have anything in common in terms of letters. So that's unfortunate. So I feel like we got to try one of them first. We have to try one of them first. So I'm going to go with camel was the first one I believe I came up with. Because we do want to, at the very least here, validate that the L is in fact at the end. And maybe at least a 1 in 3 chance, possibly more, that we have the correct word. I'll go for it, sure. Let's see if we can do this. Is the answer to today's puzzle the word camel? No, it's not. And there's your L. I had a funny feeling we'd see it there. All right, so we have 3 guesses to work with here. We haven't looked at bagel or hazel. And I'm just taking a minute here to say, is there anything else that I'm clearly missing? It can't be ladle because we tested the L in the front. So that I'm not worried about. G goes for bagel. I don't see A-N-E-L matching up with anything. I'm cautiously optimistic that we may be looking at bagel versus hazel. And I would be inclined, I think, to go with bagel first, just because the consonants I'm evaluating are a little more common. So with a little bit of trepidation, we're going to take the shot. It could be a 50-50. Is the answer to today's puzzle the word bagel? No, it's not. And the B and the G, not there. Okay, so now this gets a little bit nerve-wracking. And I have to be careful. We tested the S, so it's not easel. So is there anything else beyond hazel? I mean, we're obviously going to find out very quickly, because if we evaluate hazel and it is not the answer, we're in trouble with one guess left. So let's go and do what we need to do here. And we're going to populate hazel. And fingers crossed that this is the answer. Is the answer to today's puzzle the word hazel? Yes, it is. Not going to lie. I was a little worried about that one. I had a funny feeling I might have missed something, or possibly more than one thing, and we would have had to basically leave it to luck. But no, in fact, we did get hazel on the end. I imagine there's probably some analysis that can be done there to see if I was in fact correct, that those were the only options, and there weren't other ones. I'm in the comments. Please feel free to let me know. That's a case where I would like to know what the analysis says on that. Well, folks, another day, another puzzle. Hope you had a good time with it. Hey, we're trying to get to 7,000 subs. We do have about 800 left to go. But please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. I think we're probably going to do is some like intermediate marks along the way. Like maybe I'm thinking perhaps when we get to 6250, maybe we'll do a live stream. We'll do some celebrations along the way. So again, feel free to subscribe and share this with a friend. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and we are going to hope for the best. We're actually going to plead. That's right. We're going to start with the word plead, P-L-E-A-D. So hopefully I don't have to plead to ask you to come on back tomorrow for some more Wordle.